0796 or send an email to newstips@cbs12.com.
A penny saved is a penny earned, and the Trump administration says it's all about counting the pennies and saving taxpayers' dollars. Over the weekend, President Trump directed the U.S. Treasury Department to stop minting new pennies. He says producing them costs more than they're worth. The question is, will Americans miss them? Jim?
Yeah, well, Liz, the truth is approximately 140 billion pennies are right now in circulation. That's 403 pennies for every person in the United States. But it turns out most of them are not sitting in banks, but rather in people's piggy banks or maybe under their seat cushions. The first Lincoln penny was introduced back in 1909. The public was so excited, they waited in line to get their hands on one.
I don't think we need pennies anymore. No one even picks them up off the sidewalk when I pass them by myself.
Kathy Bannigan's not alone. The penny has lost its luster for many Americans. Do you still use pennies?
Yeah, oh yes. Yeah, I do. Sometimes I have a bunch of my little change purse, and I'm trying to get rid of them, because it gets heavy.
Heavy and plentiful. At this very moment, there are enough pennies to dole out more than $4 to every man, woman, and child in the U.S. President Trump writes, "I've instructed my Secretary of U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. For far too long," he says, "the United States has minted pennies that cost more than 2 cents. That is so wasteful."
I'm not a fan of Donald Trump's in any form, but I agree with him on getting rid of the penny.
I have so much change that comes my way. I don't know what to do with it.
I know it doesn't mean much, but I always keep. I notice that all of my buying now, especially if it's a sandwich or something like that, it always ends with a penny. So I get the penny. I always have it. To me, it's okay.
When it comes to production, the U.S. has done all it can to pinch its pennies. The new penny is mostly made out of inexpensive zinc with only a thin plate of the more costly copper. But in the new digital age, where more than 80% of retail transactions are done with apps or cards, some think it's possible other coins could go the way of the penny.
I'm not sure how we're going to handle things other than a nickel or a dime for change, something smaller than that. So,
well, would it be possible? I guess retailers would have to round up everything.
Well, I'm thinking that would be to their benefit, yes.
So you're okay with us stopping the production of pennies?
Yeah.
Pennies been around a long time.
So have I.
And you might be asking yourself, what about other coins? Well, it turns out the nickel costs 14 cents to make, but because there are far fewer of those produced each year, the loss is not nearly as significant. And don't get too worried about any of this, because the penny supply, if it ever does run low, it's possible the U.S. Treasury could just go back to producing more of them in the future.